So welcome back. It's a very brisk but bright sunny morning here in Wales. Look at my shoulder on the hill. It's lambing season down here. And on the drive down you saw all the lambs running around in the field. Over the back there, there's probably got to be about 300 lambs running around in the field. So you can hear the lambs bleating in the field. Most of them don't look more than a few days old, but they're nice white fresh wool as opposed to their mothers that don't look white and fresh. But that's the nature of farming here in Wales. So some jobs that need to be done while I'm down here is, the first thing is I need to clear out the back of the load space and I need to get my frame back in. I've got a lithium 100 amp hour battery that has been in for a couple of weeks now. Just need to put that on charge, make sure it's good to go, and then get the frame put back in, get everything hooked up, and then configure the Red Arc system. So the Redvision system, the things that weren't on it before when I went to Spain, it's really loud, trucks coming by. I hadn't had the inverter hooked in. I'd bought it, but I hadn't had it hooked up, so I need to get that configured. And then the whole of the Redvision system for all of the ancillary devices that need to be controlled off of it, I need to do that as well. So this could end up being quite a long video, because after it goes in, I've got to configure everything. And I'll walk you through how all of that is hooked up on the distribution box, and then how you configure everything with the app. So this is going to drone on for a couple of, probably for about 45 minutes. A few other things I need to do. The rooftop tent has got to go on. I'll probably do that sometime tomorrow. And then obviously if you see the weather change, it's me doing that tomorrow. Things like my max tracks need to go on the roof, and there's a few other bits and pieces I need to do up there as well. I've got these magnetic rock lights. These are LEDs. I had them on the Defender, and I think I had 6 on the Defender. Now you might ask, why on earth do you have rock lights? Well, these are going to go under the side of where the rock sliders are. There's a channel. I actually like them because even when you camp up, you can turn them on and you get light spread around the ground, which I think is quite handy to have. But anyway, I think these are quite cool. I did contact them because, as I said, I had a whole bunch on the Defender, and I contacted them and told them that I was going to put them on the Range Rover, and they sent me some of these out to buy the control box, but I'll do a full review when these are on. But these are really, really strong. They're molded, and then they just attach up. They're magnetic. So I'm going to run 4 of these, 2 down either side of the rock sliders, 1 at the front wheel, 1 at the back, 1 at the front, 1 at the back, and then work my way through and then get the cables to all pop up through a grommet or something in the back here where I can connect it into the control box and then hook it into the Redvision system. So I'm going to be under there doing that. While I'm under there doing that, I can also show the attachment points for the rock sliders. So as I mentioned in the previous video, there are 8 M8 riv nuts with bolts going down the side of each of them, but underneath there's a channel, and under there it's attached to factory points, and I believe there are 8 factory points under there. So I'll point those out so at least you can see where they are. Sam, you've asked me about gross vehicle weight and whether I'm close to it. I don't believe I'm anywhere near it, to be honest with you, but it's quite deceiving. So when you look at the stuff that you've taken off as opposed to the weight of the things going on, I don't think I'm anywhere close to adding an extra ton of weight. So I think the unladen curbside weight of these is like 2,780 kilograms. I think that the gross vehicle weight is 320, something like that. So I don't think I'm anywhere near that. When you add in things like the roof rack, the rooftop tent, which isn't that much, it's probably only 60 kilograms to be honest, and the stuff that's come out, so that rear exhaust box was very heavy, and I'm guessing it was 20 to 25 kilos in weight. That came off. I don't carry a full-size spare, and there's a few other things that have been taken off here, some side trim panels, which it's weight, whether it's significant or not. But it's a good point, is you do need to be careful when you start adding things on. Now the way I look at it is, if you think of the G4 L322s that Land Rover sent into the field on those events, those had bash plates on them. Those, I believe, had rock sliders. They may or may not, I can't remember. They definitely had water tanks. They definitely had roof racks with different things on it. If you notice, they have spare wheels up there as well. Whether it came from the load space and it was a 6th wheel, not sure, but they clearly had a lot of things on it. Now, what was that gross vehicle weight? I'm guessing they were probably 3,100. So when you look at kilograms to pounds, you really get sort of like a full 1 ton of weight to play with. But it will be interesting. It's a good comment about the amount of things that go on here. It begins to add up with weight, but we'll see. There is a weighbridge in Bilbao. It's a free one on the motorway. It's just outside the port. And when I was there in September, I had the fridge and I had a bunch of things in the back here as well. I didn't have the rooftop tent. Obviously, I didn't have the sliders. I got on that bridge, and I believe it was 2,900 kilograms. So I still had plenty of space and room to play with. The roof rack was on, the rooftop tent wasn't on. I was carrying things like jacks and stuff like that. So I think I'm well under, but again, this could be quite deceiving, but it's a great point, Sam, and I guess we'll find out what it looks like when we get there. Right, so less rattling on from me. I got a lot of work that I need to get done over the coming days before I head back to London and start doing my vehicle prep. So one other thing, TMD weren't prepared to cut the mounting brackets for the Pro Speed bash plates. Now, one of my subscribers said they got them to fit it, and I'm on my way to Dirt Monkey up in Rotherham on Wednesday, and I'm going to work with Luke. He has a V6. So we have the templates of those plates. So I'm going to work with him over the coming months to be able to get those plates recreated, but with different mounting panels or the mounting tubes on the back of the sump plate to make it fit. His point was that it wasn't the DPF, it's the cats. But he'd figured out, one of my subscribers had figured out that there is a way that he managed to chop it and then reinforce it around the cats. So Luke is a brilliant fabricator. Go and have a look at his website, Dirt Monkey. He did some things for Mike Harvey for his disco as well. So I believe that guy can help fix this one way or the other, and then we'll figure out what those plates look like. So at least we got some templates to work with. Once he gets his welder out, I'm sure he can fix it. But that obviously won't be done before I go away on my trip. But we'll leave it up to Luke to go ahead and see what he can do, and then when I come back, probably in the mid part of May, head back up there and see if I can get them fixed. So that's all good. Less talking, more action. See you in a minute. So as I mentioned before, I was going to take the rear mud flaps off. They just look terrible. I had to get pretty brutal. So I've got these plugs, and these are just 8mm plugs. And it fills in the gap and the holes, so clearly I'm going to get some T-cut on this and clean it up. But I had to get pretty brutal with them. So those of you that do have them, there is an awful lot of crap that gets thrown up behind the back of these, and it sits in here. And that mud, and I've not been off-road in a long time, you can see how filthy it is. But when I pulled these off, I had to get brutal with a grinder. Anyway, these caps just pop in, and they're okay for now. So these will just fit in, and it covers up the holes, at least for now, until I can decide what I'm going to do. But all of this is just disgusting, and here is the remnant. So I actually had to cut these off. The driver's side wasn't too bad, but you can see all of the rubbish. And this is the passenger side. Let's see if I can make it a bit easy for you to see. But it is, God knows what gets caught up underneath here. And you can see how bad it is. This is just wet, damp. And look at that. So this is all up underneath where it goes up against the bodywork. And every single one of these bolts I had to grind off. And I had to cut this to get access to these. And these are pretty grungy. So clearly these have been in here for 12 years. And they're in pretty bad shape. So just a word of warning, that's where the rust starts, is you get all of this stuff just buries itself in these inside of here. And this is damp, this is just filthy. And like I said, I've not been off-road since I came back from Spain, which was close to 2.5 months ago. but it is just caked on. Anyway, these are off for the scrap heap, but they're off, which is good. And you get pretty brittle with them. So if anybody wanted them tough, you can't have them now. They're destroyed. Hey Rob, so it was dirt, and there was a slight piece of rust coming over here, as you can see inside of the trim. But based on Rob pointed it out, I put some rust inhibitor on it, which didn't really turn a different color, which makes it look like it wasn't rust anyway. And then I put some under seal on this corner and up through here as well. Still a bit tacky, but it looks like it's okay. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. There is the LED. And Sam, just so you know, there's one of the bolts. There's the other one. And then at 8 all the way down to the back. And down at the back is where the second LED is. And then I ran the wires. I'll show you on the other side because I did this side. The other thing I have noticed is my air tank for the air suspension is probably going to need to be replaced. I think they all go that after about 10 years. The other thing you can see is there is a huge amount of crud that gets wedged up in here. And it's things like this that cause these vehicles to rot. Now this is plastic under here, but clearly this is going to have to come off where the fuel tank cover is, because there is crap and everything up under there. I just noticed that. Right, so if you can see the other side, you can see where the wire runs all the way to the back. So before I attach these, the LED will go at the front. You can see that. And then I'll just run these up at the back of the channel. And then I have put some braid on them. And then run them on the inside here. Loops round. And then it disappears inside of here, up here, and it comes out from inside of the cover, and then inside of the rear lamp there is a grommet, and that's I've done on both sides, and that will provide, let's close that up, so in through the grommet, both sides, back from the trim, and it works its way underneath here, velcro to the loom for the trailer hitch. Then they pop out here. The other ones pop out from inside of here into the distribution box, positive and negative, and then this will go to the Redvision system. So this is my 105 amp Renogy lithium battery. Green lights, so the inverter directly to the battery. And I have a spare plug that will go to run 240 to 2240 off of that. That's also controlled on off via an RJ11 plug. That again is all wrapped up here. That needs to go into the Redvision distribution box, so you can actually control turning the inverter on and off whenever you want that controlled directly through the app or through that. So now what I need to do is I need to go get the frame, put the frame in, then start connecting all this up, and then go through the configuration process of setting up my Redvision system. But anyway, we're one step closer to getting all this fixed. Seal in there just as some protection. One thing I have noted is that I have rubbed my way through the inside, as you can see in there. Now I believe that's for the filler pipe, for the fuel filler pipe, but I have rubbed a hole through that, you can just about see that in there, so I'm going to need to do some trimming to trim that off and make sure that that is in place. but it's clearly has rubbed itself. Now I'm running wider tyres. These are L405 wheels, and I believe that the offset has probably pushed with wider tyres, has started to rub that away. But not too worried about it. It is just a protection for it. And I think a lot of people actually go through this process of heating these up and then sort of making sure there is no hump in there. But anyway, that's all done. But there you go, Rob. Just so you know, wasn't rust. Both mud guards are off the back. That side. And you can see that side. And yes, there's nothing you can do about this. This is actually worn away over the years when they've been in there. I've tried to put some T-cut on it, but you're still going to see that. But anyway, these are these little plugs that I bought. So all I need to do is just fix this cable, the braided cable, push it up underneath, then I can clip it together. And again, just in case I wax oiled and undersealed all of this here, there was a small amount of rust beginning to pop up, and even this begins to look like it might be, but I think it's okay at this point in time, but it will definitely need to be taken care of. And even if you look here on the frame, the subframe is beginning to show some surface rust, so I think at some point in time get this off and then start treating it and see what's underneath there. But anyway, going to grab some lunch, and then the job will be just to stick all these back up and zip tie them together. And while I am here, I figured I will show you that there was some surface rust across that seam. So I have gone through, put some rust inhibitor in there, and then put some wax oil under seal that side, and it was just bubbling up under there, not a lot, just really surface rust, and I've gone down that side as well. And again, you can see the cables, they work their way, zip tied together up to my rock lights. And now we have to go and put the frame in, which is not going to be easy with one person with all the weight on it, but I'll see what I can do. Back to you later. And these are the Lux Rock Lights. There's only 4 of them, 2 each side on the bottom of the rock sliders. And you can definitely see, it's just getting dusk, how bright. They illuminate everything underneath the vehicle. Out of sight, out of mind. It's great for some night wheeling. And again, you can see right under the vehicle. I'll put a link in the description. They come in different kits. You can get them in 4, 6 and 8 lights. And you can also get them with different colours. But white is good enough for me. So the tent is on. The only thing I had to do was turn my shower tent, the brackets, as you can see there. They were pointing up, so I had to turn them down, and that's only just to get this on. There might be some rejigging, but it fits. I'm going to try it. I'm going to put another bolt in the back here, just to give it a little bit more strength. But yeah, that's good to go. Tested out the shower, that all works. And we've got some bleating in the background. Yeah, but I've driven it about 40 miles with the tent on the roof. And again, because I've got it opening that way, as I had on the Defender, you can see the profile of the tent. It should go the other way because these are basically built for the North American market. And with the North American market, as they drive on the other side of the road, you can see the profile of the tent is to make it more aerodynamic. So it's actually around the wrong way. So you've got this hub. This one sort of gives you a little bit of more aerodynamics on it. But let's face it, I mean, it's a brick anyway. It's better than the Defender, but it's still a solid piece here. So maybe at some point in time I'll turn it round, but at this point you can see it's up there. But anyway, it opens this way up. So there's minimal wind noise, and I've got it up to about 65, 70. It's perfectly fine. And there's a lot of holes in the front to get the air to sort of work its way around, so it's all good to go. I popped the tent up yesterday, posted a picture on Instagram. You can just see where my max tracks are buried in here. And again, the rejigging is going to be, it probably needs to come over slightly, but that's okay. And I've got a really long front runner transit bag that fits over the side or on the top of these. And what I do is I will strap down my transit bag. It's a front runner, it's an extra large, and then things like chairs, my ARB jack, base plate for the jack, a whole bunch of stuff that I don't generally need on a daily basis. That will just go and strap in there as well. And that's one reason why I have the tent that way, is because if you had it the other way, there'll be a ridge in it, although it doesn't make a lot of difference with the wind noise and things like that. So anyway, it's taking shape. A few other bits and pieces. I've got the frame in, it's an absolute mess in the back with things stacked up. So the frame is in the back. I've got my Redvision system hooked up. A couple of other things I need to do. This has got a variable alternator on it, and I need to run a cable to basically trigger the battery to the BMS to kick in because of the way that the alternator is run off of this. So I've got to find a ignition feed for that, and I just ran out of time. So I got to work on that this weekend, and then I'll give you a run through the Redvision system. But everything is in the back, it's all hooked up. And then I've got my Road Chef in there as well. So the Nomad kitchen will be here on Wednesday, and I'm going to basically just bolt it in and put the French light on top of it and be good to go for this one trip. When I come back, I'm going to replan all of the frame in the back. I'm going to put a water tank in there, and I'm going to put one of the slanted front runner water tanks at the back. I've seen somebody that's done it for one of these as well. So that will sit in the back, and then I'm going to rejig all of the measurements and everything to fit all of the stuff that I've now got. It might be a bit smaller, it would definitely be narrower, because with all of the gubbins on the electrics that are basically hidden on this side of the vehicle, I'm running out of space. So I'm going to have to figure out how to sort of shorten it and take about, my guess is 6 inches off the width of it to make sure everything fits nicely. But anyway, that's for a future video, and I'll do that sometime in June when I get back. Right, onwards and upwards. It's a different location. I want to walk you through everything that's gone on with the vehicle to prepare for 10 days going to Portugal. I will put a picture somewhere of the trips or the trails that I'm going to do. I'm going to do a small part in a national park just south of Santander when I get there on Tuesday. It's not a big trail, but it'll just do another quick shakedown test on the vehicle. It looks like it's a pretty easy trail, and then head south down to Castelo Branco, right on the Portuguese-Spanish border, heading to Lisbon to meet some former colleague of mine, and then I am heading down through the coast to do the sand trails, which is just south of Lisbon, all the way down to Sagres at the very, very bottom of the Algarve. And I'm going to try and do about 3 or 4 days hidden away in this on the coast, trying to do some wild camping. The tent is on, as you can see from the previous clips. What I found really interesting is that I thought I had more space with this vehicle on the roof, but surprisingly, with the rooftop tent on and my big front runner transit bag, I don't have any more space on the roof rack than I did with the Defender. And that to me is just mind-blowing, that this is a much bigger car, and yet the Defender and this pretty much share the same footprint on the roof rack. So I actually thought I had a little bit more space where I could put my front runner bag and then put that big road shower on the back. So what I'm going to probably have to do now is take the road shower off at some point in time and then go back to my original plan of putting in a heat exchanger and then running the shower up underneath the vehicle and then over this way. Space is the premium, and I think it's important to make sure that it looks right up there and stays solid on there as well, and it's not fitting straight. The front runner bag, I'll show you, sits up on top of the road shower, but it will be good for this trip. And as I've said over and over again, you put these things on, you go away and test them, you see what you like, you see what you don't, and then you modify it based on your needs. So pretty sure at this point in time I'm going to dump the road shower and go back to my original plan. I think it's just going to be cleaner and simpler. So I'll walk you through that. All of the frame is in, my Redvision system is all hooked up, which is all good to go. I've got one issue that I cannot resolve, and that is my Bcdc Charger, which is the Manager 30, cannot get an input of more than 11 volts from the start battery. So I thought my battery might be on its way out, so I went and bought a new battery. Brand new one, put it in, has made not a difference at all, and I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I have run volt tests on it. I'm plugged in from the start battery through the fuse box, which is buried in the back here. The only thing I can think of is it has something to do with, there's a temperature variable alternator which is temperature driven, and apparently when it's cold and the car needs more power, it goes and asks for more power from the battery, and it regulates and modulates the voltage. It's the only thing I can think of that is causing this. So driving along, the Bcdc Charger, the Manager 30 on the Redvision system, will only show 11.5 volts. So it's pushing power out to the system, but I've got no way of figuring out how to get it to what I can see is actually kicking it in is 14.4. I've got an input trigger on it as well, which I've checked, but I just cannot figure it out. And the only thing I can think of is got something to do with the variable voltage alternator. And there must be something in there that is controlling voltage to the certain components that need it when it needs the power, as opposed to all on. It's the only thing I can think of, and I'm not in a position, I've got no time left now to be able to do that. The only thing I can think of doing now is running a cable directly from the Manager 30 to the start battery, bypass absolutely everything, and see whether that picks up the 12 volt, 12.4 and then 14.4 when it's charging. No idea what it is. If anyone can come up with any ideas of why they think that could happen, love to hear. But I cannot get the Manager 30 to pop up the correct voltage coming off of any of the fuse boards or any of the auxiliary devices where power's coming to it. I've got no clue what it is. And like I said, I've gone through, double checked, replaced cables, ran cables to bypass things, and I still cannot get it. But what I haven't been able to do is go from here at the back of the vehicle to the front of the vehicle with a live cable directly to the start battery positive. Haven't done it yet, but that can wait. I'll walk you through the Redvision system. I'll do a screen capture and I'll walk you through what that looks like. Fridge is in, everything works. Got the compressor working, and plugged in my solar panel. That all works. I have my solar panel on the roof. It's a fold-up solar blanket. That was pumping out close to 25 watts yesterday in the sun, and that charges the second battery. I do have a Bluetti. Basically, it's a power box, and that can pump out enough power as well, and that's got 240 on it. So what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to stop and wild camp, I'll throw up my solar panel to put the charge back into my 100 amp hour lithium battery, and if I have to, I can also put in this power bank, put a 240 on it, and work it that way. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm only going to be wild camping for a couple of nights, so I won't be draining this amount of power. But it's always a concern when things like this don't work before you go away on a trip. So my start battery is not charging my auxiliary battery, and no idea. I've been on the phone to Red Arc. They can't figure out what it is at the moment. They're going to do some research. Inverter is in, got that all hooked up as well. I've got my road chef in, that's ready to go. So everything works, everything's tested. Let's have a look at the Redvision system. So there's two ways of controlling this. So when you power on, you can see the state of battery. So right now it shows you that it is draining. There's 97% left. And if I kept on going the way I'm going to go, in 15 days time I will drain that battery. This is the Bcdc Charger, and clearly there's nothing going through at the moment. So if I started turning things on, which I'll do, which you can do here through these touch screens. So here I can turn my USBs on, I can turn my rock lights on, I also have a light over here that I can turn on. As you can see, that's on as well. And then you begin to see the pole from the amps. And if I turn on my, this is power to my tent, but this is through an Anderson plug, you begin to see the power go down. And you can see if I left all this on, 3 days time, it'll all be done. I can turn everything off. And then here is my inverter. I can turn that on remotely, and then my compressor, and in we go. And you can see how the battery will start calculating its charge or discharge. And then again, you can see what the charge looks like. It shows you a calculation. This will keep on ticking over when it shows you how much voltage is inside of the house battery. And here shows the manager inputs, and again, according to this, the car is only kicking out 10.5 volts, and I have absolutely no idea why, because that's not what that start battery is kicking out. At the moment, dormant, it's 12.4, but for some reason this still says 10.5. So anyway, this is the Manager 30. You've also got logs in here as well. You can see the solar, you can also see the charge and the state of charge per day, and you can look at all those logs as well. Most of those I don't do. As soon as you start kicking in the charge or putting charge into the battery, you'll see it go through the different stages, which is there's boost, there's float, and there's absorption. So when you do start charging it either through solar or you put it in through shore power, you'll see that change. The two temperature gauges up here, I have one temperature gauge actually inserted into the bottom of the fridge, so one of those will show me that, and then I have another one which is buried down here that keeps track of the temperature where all of the electrics are, and I can monitor that as well on the app. So that's the monitor at the back, but what you can also do is go into the app, and I'll screen record this for you. So in the app you can see exactly the same information that comes out on the screen. So I do have a water tank that I'm planning on putting in. There's a front runner that will go behind the back of the seats. So I've got a water tank sensor, so this will go in number one when I decide to turn it all on. And again, you see the state of charge, and for some reason start battery on this one 10.5. It makes no difference. It makes no sense to me why it's not showing up. The other thing you can do is you can turn it on, and then all of the things that I showed you in the soft keys can be replicated as well. So I can control on my USBs, I can turn my fridge on, and then I can turn on my overhead light, which you can see here. And that's all controlled off the app. And again, compressor, turn on the inverter, and that's all controlled off the app. So clearly with the app you can just walk around and then turn on the lights, turn on everything else. You can put user controlled inputs, digital inputs as well. So if you turn everything off, it turns everything off as well. So if you hit this button, it will turn everything off. One thing you don't want to do is leave the fridge. So the fridge has actually got an override on it that if I turn this system off from here, it keeps the fridge going. That way you don't turn your fridge off accidentally. So anyway, that's the Redvision system. I have one in the Defender, absolutely love it. If only I can get my start battery to start charging my auxiliary battery, I'll be good to go. So in the back of the vehicle, this is going to I'm going to remake this. I'm probably over too far, but half a foot, 6 inches. So I'm going to remake this when I come back. And I'm probably going to try and figure out how to get all of this electrics behind the back of this up here. Take the dog guard out, build a new frame, and put the frame up here, and then hide everything behind the back of it. So I got some ideas from that. I do have a Nomad kitchen, which seems to be stuck at the moment inside of FedEx. But I believe that what I can do is put the Nomad kitchen here, put a shelf over the top, attach my little oven. That's the Road Chef. And then start stacking bags on top of it, and just do just completely reconfigure it. For now it's fine. Fridge on the fridge slide, that can stay there, but I think I just need to be able to sort of shorten it either side. All of my USBs, tent power, solar power, you can see them there, they all work. Tested them all out, that's all good to go. And the reason why I designed it this way was I now have, this is the wall of fame, but if I want to charge anything off, I can just leave it on this surface here, plug everything in, it's good to go. And this, the Road Chef, plugs directly into the solar, into there. This cable is to, when you're on shore power, to actually plug in the Manager 30, and that provides shore power 240 to be able to charge the auxiliary battery up. But anyway, all of that is in. Behind the back of here, if you can see down here, that's where I put all my tools, and at the far end of there is the compressor, all buried away. So everything's out of the way. I'm pretty happy with the way everything is. Obviously, you know, I've got my solar blanket here, which is wedged in. Other bits and pieces inside of my molly bags, all of the other good stuff that I need. So all of that is in. So as you can see, I am just about in line with the end of the roof rack. Just a little bit overhang with the tent. My max tracks are up here. You can see them in here, and then the bag is basically just strapped on top of the max tracks. But you can clearly see that the bag does not sit flush. I thought it did, but it won't. So I've got things like a couple of chairs, I've got a whole bunch of stuff up there, my jack base, awning for the tent, things that you don't generally need on a regular basis. It's all up there. But clearly this is going to have to come off, and then it will allow me to sit that there. Anyway. So I am out of here. Today is Good Friday, and I am out of here on Sunday night to Bilbao. Still love those. Everything is in place. Now the only other thing I'll give you an update on is I went to Dirt Monkey up in Rotherham on Wednesday this week. Sat down with Luke, got out the Pro Speed bash plates, got up underneath the vehicle, and we have figured out a creative solution how we can make this fit. And what we're going to do is over the next couple of months, we're going to start reproducing our own versions of the rock plates. Of the bash guards and the rock sliding plates underneath the vehicle. So we're using the Pro Speed ones as a template, but we believe that we can make them better. And so Luke is going to work on that over the coming weeks, and we expect probably sometime in June to have a first version of what they're going to look like underneath. Now he has a 3.6 V8, this is the 4.4, and it's not the cats that are the problem, it's the DPF, where the original Pro Speed mounting plates go up underneath that back end on the subframe. Different people have said cats, other people have said DPF, but it's definitely the DPF that is in the way. But Luke believes that he can put a dog leg in the frame, he can get creative on how to do that. So stay tuned for that. If anyone is interested, please let me know, and then I will start adding you to the list of what they're going to when we're going to produce them, and ultimately what they're going to cost. We're going to try and make them, whereas the Pro Speeds ones, you could have, you need, if you're going to have the transfer bash plate, you need to have the front sump guard. These are going to be produced where you can make your decision. If you want the transfer guard, then get the sump, you can do that, as opposed to the other way around, is you can't fit the transfer without the sump guard. So we're going to get creative on how that looks to be able to provide that. So again, anyone with an L322 that wants transfer box bash plates and a sump bash plates, let us know. On mine and on the autobiography facelift version, that lip on the bottom, this one, was going to have to come off to be able to expose one, the recovery ring, but also to get the plastic trim across the bottom here. We need to be able to take that off so we can profile and shape the aluminium that works its way up to provide some protection on the bottom there. that, but we've got some ideas on how that can work. The only other product idea, we've got a number of them. We were talking about it, and I have put some feelers out for other people that are looking for product ideas for the L322, because as we all know, getting things for these vehicles to go off-road is nigh on impossible, and especially with the Pro Speed one only fits certain models. So if we are looking at a number of things that we want to do. The next one we're going to try and do is see if we can replicate the ladder. Now this is steel, this is very heavy. You can hear it, it's very heavy. So we're going to see if we can put our own version of a stainless steel ladder. Same mounting points. It'll probably have the Dirt Monkey logo in here. Same mounting points, both top and bottom. But instead of having it as round, we're going to see if we can put it square. So that's something else we're thinking of as well. Roof rack, maybe. We all know the G4 roof rack is like hen's teeth. It's almost nigh impossible to find one. Recreating that might be an option. The other thing we're thinking of doing is these sit inside of feet. So these are 6 feet. This is the the out rack that I've got from Rover Passion. It sits on feet. We think that we can recreate those feet and sell them in sort of packs at 6 to allow you to go and put almost any roof rack you want on a vehicle. Now this is a very good roof rack, love it, but it is a low profile one. So we're thinking of coming up with different ideas to be able to build these feet and then have different heights to raise these up. There's a couple of reasons for that. There's a number of things you could put on this vehicle, such as there's a front runner table that fits at the bottom. You can slide it out. So we might be able to put things like that on there as well. I'll give you the option to do that. So we're going to look at different types of products that we can build for the L322, primarily for the off-road market. As we all know, there's a huge gap in the market for these, and more people now are buying these vehicles and doing what I'm doing, which is taking them off-road overlanding trips. Rock sliders, I love these. These are wonderful. They're great. Whether they can be used different versions, instead of square you have round, there's a number of different things, and Luke is brilliant with a welding torch. His Discovery bumpers, front and rear, he just can't make them quick enough. One other shout out, if you have a D3 or a D4, Luke is now beginning to build front and rear bumpers for them, but clearly when you look at vehicles like this, you need vehicles to be able to look at mounting points, and you get creative. So that's why I'm working with him for the L322. I do know Sam's Motor and Machine wants a rear swingway tire carrier. Now that's an option as well, but where you actually bolt it to and mount it to, who the heck knows, because a lot of it's going to need these things recreated, and these are all molded plastic. So that could be an option as well. But comments below, please, any ideas for any products that you think you would like to see made for the L322. Throw them down there and we'll look in to see what we can do for you. But anyway, this is a pretty long video. Thank you for staying with it. Next time you'll hear from me, hopefully will be sometime either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll see if I can post a couple of videos of me going through the national park just south of Santander. I think it's called the Europa. And then up here is a link to all the trails, or what I'm going to do with my Gaia GPS map. And with that, as another aircraft goes into Heathrow, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.